From this year's Hellraiser to the upcoming Nosferatu remake helmed by Robert Eggers, studios love cashing in on nostalgia, and audiences love watching fresh takes on their favorite stories. But they also expect cameos from the original movies that the remakes are based on. It adds to the fun, and it connects the remake to the OG meaningfully. Today, we're looking at 10 remakes that feature a cameo from the original cast. Starting with number 10, Michael Caine in the 2000 remake of Get Carter. Back in the 1960s and 1970s, Michael Caine was a household name. He was and still is a powerhouse on screen. Most of us remember him as the OG Charlie Croker from 1969's The Italian Job, but his performances in Alfie and Funeral in Berlin made him the legend he is today. Mike Hodges, who wrote and directed Get Carter in 1971, wanted a big name for the title role, and he was surprised that Caine agreed. Carter isn't particularly a likable person, but the actor said that he wanted to draw on his own childhood experiences. Carter's a criminal with a tough edge, and the seasoned actor knew just how to play him. It gained a cult following, got glowing reviews, and is one of the actor's best movies ever. So when Warner Brothers wanted a remake with Sylvester Stallone, it made sense to pay homage to the OG and cast Caine in more than just a cameo. Sure, the original's hard to beat, and the remake didn't really win over critics and audiences, but it was still great to see Caine in a Get Carter movie again. At number 9, it's Franco Nero's cameo in Django Unchained. Like Michael Caine, Franco Nero's a Hollywood legend, having appeared in nearly 200 films. Now 80 years old, the actor has played characters such as Sir Lancelot in Joshua Logan's Camelot, Uncle Topolino in Cars 2, and he was even in John Wick 2. Remember the manager of the Continental in Rome? That was him. But we will always remember him as the cowboy badass Django. Sergio Corbucci's 1966 movie served as the inspiration for Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. The eccentric director tapped Nero to make a small cameo in his movie, which he graciously accepted. The movie pays several tributes to Corbucci's original, including using bits of the original score. Nero plays Amerigo Vespucci, who owns the slave fighting Calvin Candy's slave in the Mandingo scene. When he loses, he goes to the bar where Jamie Foxx's Django joins him. Vespucci asks his name, and Django tells him, saying that the D is silent, and Vespucci says, "I know," winking at the audience. Up next is number 8, Hugh Keays-Byrne in Mad Max: Fury Road. While he may not be as well known as Caine or Nero, Hugh Keays-Byrne became a popular name back in 1979 with the release of the original Mad Max. In George Miller's Mad Max: Fury Road, Tom Hardy had already taken up the mantle of the iconic Max Rockonatsky. So in order to connect the soft reboot with the original, Miller cast Hugh to play the big bad Immortan Joe. In the first movie, he played another villain who went by the name Toe Cutter, a motorcycle gang leader. Even though Mel Gibson would have been the ideal choice, Hugh proved that he could not only pay homage to the original, but give audiences a performance that they'll remember forever. Fury Road was the actor's final role as an actor as he passed away back in 2020. For number 7, Chris Sarandon in 2011's Fright Night remake. 1985's Fright Night was a fantastic horror movie, featuring a surprisingly layered performance by Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, a bloodthirsty vampire. But nearly 30 years later, in 2011, Colin Farrell got to play the iconic role along with David Tennant as Peter Vincent. Now, usually remakes aren't all that great. They lack the original's oomph and are usually just a money-making opportunity for film studios. But not the 2011 version. Farrell and Tennant were the highlight of the remake, and Sarandon made a fun cameo as JD in Fright Night 2.0. JD obviously is a nod to his original role as Jerry the Vampire, but this time, the poor guy gets brutally killed by Farrell's version of Jerry. 2011's Fright Night keeps the spirit of the original with its signature humor and supernatural horror. Sarandon's inclusion by the filmmakers just made it that much better. At number 6, Johnny Depp and Peter DeLuise appear in 21 Jump Street. 2012's 21 Jump Street was one of the best comedies of the year. It's definitely on our list of the best comedies of the last decade. But back in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a TV series of the same name, and Johnny Depp and Peter DeLuise were the stars of that show. It ran for 5 great seasons and is one of our favorite police procedurals of that era. During the climax of the 2012 version, Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill crash another undercover operation, and it's revealed that DEA agents Tom Hansen and Doug Penhall were running the other operation. This was a great way to connect the movie with the TV series and gave the OG fans a chance to see the again. Of course, before they're both violently gunned down. Coming in at number 5, Ken Foree appears as a televangelist in 2004's Dawn of the Dead. Before Zack Snyder's 2004 Dawn of the Dead, audiences watched and loved George A. Romero's 1978 horror classic of the same name. The premise was as simple as it can get. There's a zombie outbreak and a bunch of survivors barricades themselves in a shopping mall. If that sounds familiar to you gamers, it was also a level featured in Left 4 Dead 2. But Snyder's version also had its moments. Most modern zombie movies fall short of fans' expectations, but not the 2004 version of Dawn of the Dead. In the original movie, Ken Foree played one of the original mall survivors. He's been in a couple of horror movies since then, but he returned to the genre for a brief cameo in Snyder's version, playing a televangelist warning viewers of doomsday. And for longtime fans of the franchise, it was a warm welcome of a beloved actor. Next is number 4, Lou Ferrigno in both Hulk and The Incredible Hulk. Everyone knows The Incredible Hulk TV series from the 70s. Bill Bixby played David Banner, a version of the Bruce Banner we all know and love. But more importantly, the Hulk was played by a famous bodybuilder, Lou Ferrigno. They could have tapped Arnold to play the role, but Lou was a lot taller and had the same amount of muscle to play the role convincingly. We've had 2 real Hulk movies since then, 2003's Hulk and 2008's The Incredible Hulk. And Lou Ferrigno made cameos as a security guard in both of them. But he went a step ahead in the 2008 version, lending his voice to Edward Norton's raging monster. At number 3, it's Burt Reynolds as Coach Nate in 2005's The Longest Yard. 1974's The Longest Yard has a massive fan base, particularly for Burt Reynolds as the Wrecking Crew. The 2005 version, starring Adam Sandler and Chris Rock, was a great hit with the audiences, but they also got a pleasant surprise when Reynolds showed up as Coach Nate Scarborough. But unlike regular cameos where the original actor shows up for a few witty one-liners, Reynolds' role as Coach Nate was big. He brings the ragtag prison team together and even does some of his own stunts with the cast. We've always known Burt Reynolds as the guy our dads really loved back in the 70s and 80s, and to be honest, we didn't understand the hype. But his appearance in the 2005 version solidified him as one of the greatest actors of all time. In second place, it's Leonard Nimoy in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek reboot. 2009's Star Trek was something else. Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto bounced off each other amazingly, and the entirely new cast made us Trekkies thrilled with what J.J. Abrams had done with the beloved franchise. The movie had a modern ship for James T. Kirk and also kept continuity with the original franchise. But by far, the biggest surprise came as Leonard Nimoy, who returned to play an older Spock alongside Quinto's younger version of the character. He made a final appearance in Into Darkness before he passed away, but there's no doubt that his appearance in 2009 Star Trek was more than just a cameo. Finally, number 1, 2016's Ghostbusters featured almost the entire OG cast. Afterlife served to continue the OG franchise's storyline, and we liked that attempt even if we didn't like the movie. But the 2016 reboot by director Paul Feig tried to do things differently with a new all-female cast. To appease fans of the original movie, the 2016 version features cameos from almost the entire original cast. Bill Murray plays Martin Heist, a celebrity conspiracy theorist. Dan Aykroyd plays a quippy cab driver, and Ernie Hudson plays Patty Tolan's uncle. Even Sigourney Weaver made a cameo as Dr. Gillian Holtzman's mentor. The reboot may not have won over longtime fans, but it certainly had some of the best cameos in a reboot or remake. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. So, which cameo surprised you the most? And are there better ones that we missed? Tell us down below. And as always, if you'd love more content like this, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because there's more where that came from. See you at the next one.